Stadium, Philadelphia. Tonight, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. There are a few players in the NFL who can literally lift a team to another level. Randall Cunningham is such a player. Now in his 7th year and following a year off with serious knee trouble, Randall, if possible, has taken yet another step in becoming the game's most complete quarterback.
In the past, I used to just try to show by example, by going out, working hard, dedicating myself, and doing whatever it takes. I'm more verbal now. When a guy makes a mistake, I'll tell him, but it's in a nice way, where no feelings are hurt, and then there's not an open gate to where they can say, well, you missed the pass, so why don't you worry about you missing the pass? The criticism now is corrective criticism in a positive way.
Randall's critique of other players is not nearly as severe as his own self-scrutiny. He spends countless hours preparing physically. The only thing that comes naturally is his instinct.
I make sure that I keep myself fine-tuned and in shape to where if I have to make a move and take off the field, I can do it. I've been blessed to be able to see guys out of the corner of my eye, and I think I have an eye behind my head underneath my hair.
Randall's unique style on the field has not only won him the acclaim of the Philadelphia fans, it has also thrust him into the national spotlight.
I think that the popularity has grown since my first year in the league. You know, being on the national television, I mean, just all the endorsements and things that come my way. I've learned now that I market myself. And I think the celebrity status is basically what you make of it. If you don't go out in the public and do the charities, if you don't show up for the card events, or you're not on the commercials, then you aren't seen as a celebrity.
Can I touch you?
Time and exposure have molded Randall into a mature businessman and player. His year away from the game gave him time to reflect on his experiences.
What I've learned from my injury is that when you fear something, that can happen. But if you learn or you train yourself not to be afraid of anything, then it won't happen. So I've been confident now since the injury. And the only thing I fear is spiders and snakes.
When we introduced the Lexus LS400s, it was hailed as nearly perfect. Our engineers took that as a challenge.
Saturday, ABC Sports kicks off a doubleheader with a showdown of undefeated powers. Number 2 Miami invades Penn State to tackle the 7th-ranked Nittany Lions. Then regional coverage follows as the nation's number 1 team, the Washington Huskies, battle California. Michigan hosts Michigan State or other key conference matchups. All Saturday on ABC Sports.
Halftime, Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia. The Eagles leading the Cowboys by 3 in a game where I think Al and Dan and I thought would be just about like this kind of a game. It's sort of back and forth, a little rugged here and there. But I think that I can't go back. I can't help thinking what Jimmy Johnson said last night. I've told Troy Aikman, don't turn it over. Don't get yourself in trouble. Throw it into the ground, get the penalty, whatever. But don't turn it over, and that's where they've been hurt thus far.
Exactly. Had he not turned it over, they would have at least been tied because they were certainly within field goal range. As we go back and take a look at some of the highlights from the first half, it began early on for Philadelphia with an interception by John Booty a little over a minute into the game on the 3rd play of the game for Dallas. And then Booty was able to run it back deep into Dallas territory, and it was capped off by this Randall Cunningham bootleg to the right, and Cunningham takes it in for a score to give Philadelphia an early 7-0 advantage. But back came the Cowboys. A key play on this drive was a 59-yard reception by Michael Irvin, and then the payoff was this catch by Kelvin Martin, who slips by Izell Jenkins, goes in for his first touchdown reception since 1989. Ruzek's field goal then made it 10-7, and here's the play to which Frank alluded. Aikman, clearly in field goal range at least, trying to force one into Alfredo Roberts, tipped by William Thomas, intercepted by Wes Hopkins in the end zone, and thus it's been a first half, Dan, played in fits and starts and sort of jumpy, but a lot of excitement in the 3-point lead for the Eagles.
A lot of excitement and points
by mistakes, and I think that's the way this game is going to continue to evolve. Whomever makes the mistakes in the second half, whomever can capitalize upon them, I think it's the old story, the way most games are decided, but more so in here because I think the margin of error here is so slim. Now, what we haven't seen is really big plays on special teams, and I know all of us saw coming into here that this was probably the way the game would be decided. Somebody's going to run back a punt, somebody's going to have one block, something like that. But 10-7 at the half, I think it's indicative of how close these two teams are to each other.
Well, they're 3 points apart, kind of a game that we thought it would be. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, always a happening when these two teams get together here in the city of brotherly love, where we'll be back in a moment.
The Lexus Halftime Report has been brought to you by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection. We'll be back with the second half kickoff after this message and a word from our ABC station. These NFL Monday Night Football, brought to you by Dodge. In the car business, you lead, follow, or get out of the way. By Dollar Rent-A-Car, right on the airport, right on the money. And by Budweiser, the king of beers with that fresh, pure, natural taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
We start the second half at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Each team 3-0 coming in. Eagles on top 10-7, and Philadelphia will get the ball as Lynn Elliott kicks off for the Cowboys. By Sikahema, back to receive for the Eagles. Right now they're waiting for the clock to get reset at 15. And here we go. Sikahema waits for it at the 7-yard line. And straight up the middle out to the 24. Tackled by Darren Woodson, rookie out of Arizona State. And let's take a look at the numbers through the first 30 minutes of play.
Dallas with an overwhelming lead in yardage, but they also have the turnovers. The 2 turnovers, and one of them prevented points, the other gave up a touchdown.
Yeah, the opening interception by Booty was the one that led to the Eagle touchdown.
That's Floyd Dixon in motion, and Herschel Walker begins with a 1-yard pickup over the right side, tackled by Tony Tolbert, and Vincent Smith also helping out. It'll be 2nd down and 9 at the 25-yard line. Herschel Walker, very much of a workhorse through the first 3 games. 76 carries in 3 games coming in. It's 25 carries a game. And a guy, well, you know the story, released by Minnesota, and it would seem to be a perfect fit in the Philadelphia offense. Dixon again in motion. Fires this time. Up to the 29-yard line. Russell Maryland makes the tackle. It'll be 3rd and 5.
Al, to take your Herschel Walker analysis a step further, what I hearkened back to was on this very field. The Vikings were here to play the Eagles a couple of years ago, and it was on that night that Herschel Walker looked so out of it, so not even a part of the Viking team. I mean, I really thought his career was in jeopardy of being over.
It was a low point of his career, no question, but Rich Kotite, when he brought him in, he gave him this kind of an offense. Look at him, 7 yards deep, his own block when he carries the ball, and let him pick the hole.
3rd and 6, and here's Walker bursting for a 1st down up to the 35-yard line, tackled by Norton and Miles.
Now that's Herschel Walker. You don't send him outside. You don't try to let him do a whole lot of blocking. You line him up there deep. He has great speed, not a whole lot of niftiness, but if he ever gets through a gap, he's gone with that 9-300 speed of his.
It also, I think, Frank, amplifies, if you ask the Eagles, what is their biggest area of improvement on this football team, and they'll tell you that it's the play of their offensive line. Heller, Shad, Alexander, Floyd, and Davis, a much improved unit from a year ago.
1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. Cunningham Drops it off for Walker, and Herschel can't break a tackle as Larry Brown, the corner, comes up to stop him after a 1-yard pickup.
Two men that came into the league at the opposite end of things, Herschel Walker and Larry Brown. Larry Brown, a 12th round draft choice last year. Started 13 games for the Cowboys, had a couple of interceptions, but one guy with a Heisman Trophy and one guy hanging on by his fingernails. Both starters, both productive.
2nd and 9. Eagles at the 36. Philly up by 3. Fake to Walker. Cunningham looking for room, finds none. Tackled after a 1-yard gain by Casillas and Washington. It'll be 3rd and 8.
That was should have given Walker the ball.
Not the prettiest thing we've seen all night. It was, I don't know whether he was,
I'm not sure what the
passer, and I don't know what he was attempting to do. Might have been a blown something by Cunningham. You roll out behind the flow of a play, you're going to attract the crowd, and he did.
3rd and 8 at the 37-yard line. Out of the shotgun. Cunningham. Pressure to the 25. The ball is loose.
And he's
There's
hurt.
been no whistle.
And
the
Cunningham's
Eagles get it
hurt.
back.
Oh, and Al and Frank Randall's hurt.
Grabbing his right leg.
It was the left knee, by the way, that was hurt last year, requiring the surgery.
Jimmy Jones comes in. It looked like the right guard, Eric Floyd, didn't know what the snap count was. Jones goes right by him while Floyd is still down in his stance. And Randall jogging it off on the sidelines. And I think all of Philadelphia right now is, their heart is in their throat.
On 4th down, Eagles, as it bounced at the 32.
Oh, and did he get a break, Al?
A tremendous break, because that's a 20-yard roll.
But Dallas was in a return mode with their special team. No pressure on Eagles. He had a bad snap, and there is a collective sort of sigh of relief by this capacity crowd as Randall Cunningham appears to be all right.
Here is Eric Floyd right here. Here is Jimmy Jones. Watch Floyd. He doesn't know the snap count. He's still got his hand on the ground. Jones is by him. He makes the contact with Cunningham, but it's Jeffcoat who falls into Cunningham's knee that threw a scare into everybody.
And then after a 63-yard Eagles punt, 20 of those yards on the ground, 1st down from the 12. Smith stopped by Harmon.
Floyd was on the bench talking to Bill Muir, his offensive line coach.
He
It looked to me,
distraught.
near tears. And can you imagine that if Randall would have been hurt, it would have been your fault, and yet it looks like Randall Cunningham is just fine, and Eric Floyd, a very happy guy.
There they are talking.
Yeah.
Floyd, a plan B pickup from San Diego. Smith after a 2-yard gain, 2nd and 8. The fake to Smith, and Aikman is going deep for Harper, and Harper adjusts and makes a great catch, getting position on Izell Jenkins and coming back to make the catch at the 45 of Philadelphia.
And we talked in the first half about his jumping ability, a 7'2" high jumper. He hung it up there and just took it away from Izell Jenkins. He's big, 6'3". They love to put it up. Jenkins not bad position on the ball.
I mean, it's really kind of an ugly pass. Underthrown. Both guys have to slow down to the point, but Alvin Harper was just that tremendous. And look how long he stayed up in the air. If you're Izell Jenkins, how do you defend that? I don't know that anybody has an answer for that.
1st and 10 at the 45-yard line. The fake draw, and then Aikman has his arm hit as he throws, and it's intercepted by Byron Evans. Out of bounds at the 45 of Dallas.
Was it Reggie White? It was somebody coming from the right side.
Seth Joyner.
Seth Joyner got a hand on the ball. Coming from the outside on the right. Seth Joyner gets around Eric Williams, the right tackle. And there's a big play.
Seth Joyner is one of those rare football players that he makes things happen in a football game. We talked about his game, great game against Houston a year ago. He does it all year long. Here he comes, number 59, top of your screen.
Eric Williams just gives him the soft corner. Doesn't even hit Joyner. That's inferior play by the right tackle.
1st and 10, Eagles at the 45-yard line, and they give it to Walker for a gain of 3. Takes it to the 42. The initial stop made by Robert Jones, and we'll take another peek at that interception.
From the left side, there's Joyner. This makes contact, and Evans just has to wait for it to get there.
Look how quickly the Eagles defensive team gets into a blocking mode. Waters coming back with a block that gets extra yardage for Evans.
3rd interception for Aikman, but you can't blame that on the Dallas quarterback.
Aikman had only 2 interceptions in the first 3 games this season. 2nd and 6 from the 41-yard line. Here's Byers behind a Walker block. Stopped by Jones, short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and roughly 2 with 8:15 to go in the 3rd quarter. And the Eagles on top 10-7 with all of the scoring in the game in the first period. Troy Aikman, coming into the game, had completed close to 70% of his passes, but tonight 10 out of 24. The 1 touchdown to Martin and 3 picks.
Had only thrown 2 interceptions in the previous 3 games.
But look at that, 3 times of the 4 times he's done it have come against the Eagles.
I mean, that's every quarterback in the NFC East, isn't it?
3rd and 2 from the 37-yard line. Cunningham throws, the catch is made, and forward progress for Barnett should be enough for a first down, and is.
Well-run pattern by Barnett.
And a good read by Cunningham. He found the man-for-man coverage. And Barnett just was the threat going upfield against Larry Brown. Brown playing way off, but in the man coverage, and Cunningham reads it.
That's the old saying, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Fred Barnett knew exactly how far to go. Got his first down by about a yard, because that's all he had to have.
From the 34, a little toss back to Walker. Herschel inside the 30 and run out of bounds at the 27-yard line by James Washington.
Big Antone Davis gets out in front of that.
What a classy act did Herschel Walker. He kept his mouth shut all week long, and for the last 2 weeks about all the hype building up to this game, how he would like to have the great game against Dallas. You heard nothing from Herschel Walker, but you know that inside he would love to have a great one tonight.
2nd and 4 from the 27-yard line. Walker again. Walker to the 23-yard line, and that's very close to a first down. I believe he has it. Robert Jones makes the tackle. First down. Clock running, 6:20 to go, 3rd quarter. Eagles on top by 3.
If there was any question about Randall Cunningham's knee and how far it's back, I think it's all put to bed now.
Fake to Walker. That buys time. Too deep, nearly picked off by Horton on the pass intended for Calvin Williams.
Calvin Williams got tangled up and he tripped, and Horton had an easy shot at the interception. Williams went down inside the 5-yard line. He wasn't there even to take it away from Horton. He got tangled up with his defender. There goes Williams. He's down. But Horton playing center field was right there. Isaac Holt providing the coverage on Williams. They got tangled up and Williams went down.
2nd and 10. Eagles at the Cowboy 23. 4-man rush. Cunningham throws to Byers. Beautifully, 1st and goal.
That is pretty. That is really pretty. Being chased by Leon Lett. Randall Cunningham stopped and sidearms the ball back perfectly to Byers. I mean, you don't work on it in practice. You don't coach it. You don't even talk about it.
Few people can do it. Great body control. What an athlete.
First and goal at the 9. Walker. Touchdown.
And it all goes back to the turnover.
Watch the broken tackle in the backfield. He's been had by Kenny Norton Jr. And this right here may start a trend. Herschel Walker acting like he's been there before.
Roger Ruzek for the extra point. Yep, he's made both teams better.
It's a capital show. The Broncos meet the Skins to the Hogs' delight. It's an East-West showdown hell Monday night.
The Eagles cash in off the interception, march down the field. Walker takes it in. Philadelphia up on top, 17-7. With 5:01 remaining in the third. Gant, he wants more crowd noise. He'll get it too. Ruzek to kick off. Gant and Kelvin Martin to run it back. Low liner. Touchback. And when we come back, the Cowboys trailing by 10 with a first down at the 20 after the Eagles go 45 yards in 8 plays.
We built this business.
Lights of downtown Philly reflecting off a Schuylkill River on a sparkling night. And it's been a sparkling night for the Eagle fans to this point because their club leads 17-7. Cowboys have it. First and 10 to the 20, 4:55 to go in the third. And Emmitt Smith picks up only 3. And it's amazing what that Philadelphia defense can do. They can make your running game look terrible and your passing game look terrible night after night after night.
And how they consistently generate points off of turnovers.
And 2 interceptions accounting for both Eagle touchdowns tonight.
Look at that. 14 points.
And another interception kept Dallas from a 3-point field goal. Almost certain.
On 2nd and 7, here's Smith again. A decent hold this time for him, but it closes in a hurry, short of the first down. Stopped by William Thomas, and then Waters comes up. And it will be 3rd down and a short 2 from the 28-yard line. And Waters is slow in getting up.
Waters actually took a good shot from one of his own teammates. And this is where it's wise to just stay down. More often than not, you'll see a defensive player ends up with an acre of pain. It's because one of his own guys coming up to finish somebody off ends up making the hit. Watch the right. Waters is coming from the left.
He led with the helmet as he customarily does, and this time he collides with his own man and Clyde Simmons. And Waters is now on the carpet.
Injury timeout.
Number 1 team in the country, the Washington Huskies, host Pac-10 rival California. For other key conference matchups, it's Game 2 of an ABC College Football doubleheader Saturday.
Andre Waters came off under his own power. In fact, he ran off the field, but he's out for at least one play. And Rich Mianos takes his spot, 3rd and 2 at the 28-yard line for the Cowboys. Aikman throws, and that's a catch by Irvin at the 37-yard line. He's been bottled up tonight, and only his second catch of the night, but at a very opportune time as they convert on third for another first down.
Yeah, both of Michael's catches tonight have kept drives alive. The big one after the Eagles climbed to an early lead, he reached behind him and took the Cowboys down the field, and this was again a very opportune grab by Michael Irvin. The Dallas Cowboys in desperate need of a time-consuming, yardage-gathering, point-producing drive.
From the 37-yard line, here's Emmitt Smith. Hello. Clyde Simmons with the greeting. Simmons is a terrific player. The problem is he plays on a team with so many big names, and the other bookend is Reggie White. So if Simmons were anywhere else, you'd be hearing a lot more about him.
He is a great player, but Reggie White makes him a much better player. Reggie attracts so much attention over the right side. Here's Simmons, bottom of your screen. There's nobody on him at that point, but he is one fine football player, very swift.
Would have been nice if the Cowboys might have tried to block him.
Second and 11 at the 37-yard line. Aikman dumping it for Emmitt Smith, and Smith cannot get by Seth Joyner one-on-one.
Well, Seth Joyner, man, and Joyner, who I think it was very apparent early in the ball game was having a problem with a leg, has just come back and been playing beautifully. And you know, it is inspirations like that that really flow to everybody else in the defensive huddle. They all know that Joyner's nicked.
And here's that situation where you hate to have third down and long against the Eagles. Now watch Emmitt Smith. He jukes, he jogs, and Seth Joyner, a superb athlete, and apparently fine now, Dan, makes a tough open field tackle.
Third and 12, Andre Waters is back in the game. Aikman over the middle. The catch is made by Martin, and he's got a first down. He is tackled by Booty, but he needed 12 and got 13. First down at the 48-yard line as he applauds himself.
Well thrown. That was pretty good coverage on Martin. And Aikman, as the pocket was beginning to collapse, delivered it right on target.
Back-to-back third down conversions for Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys.
Pretty good protection, but as it starts to collapse, Aikman throws the perfect strike.
Tough to fault the coverage by Booty.
As we mentioned, Waters back in the game, first and 10 at the 48, 39 seconds left in the quarter. Aikman over the middle again, and it's deflected off Johnston's hands into Giesecke's hands. He loses the ball. Eagles have it.
And that'll be a fumble by John Giesecke.
Boy, but is this not Eagles defensive football? They are so disruptive.
Evans hits Johnston. And the Eagles come up with the ball as Gogan or Giesecke loses the football, and William Thomas gives the Eagles possession at the 48-yard line.
I mean, needless to say, John Giesecke isn't used to carrying the ball. It comes right to him, and he just loses it. Bad break, Dallas.
Again.
Well, the Cowboys moving down the field, and then all of a sudden, on the fumble, they turn the ball over for the fourth time, and the Eagles have it at their own 48-yard line. Evans creating that one.
Opportunistic, again, the word we keep applying to that Philadelphia defensive team. The constant pressure on every offensive player who's touching the football has just become a hallmark of this Eagle team.
Some great, outstanding defensive plays tonight by Seth Joyner. Byron Evans, who Buddy Ryan always said would turn into a great football player, is developing even more each year at a big hitter. And he put a smack on Johnston on that play.
When you force two fumbles on the same play, that's somewhat indicative of how hard you're hitting.
Yeah, it's getting it done, isn't it?
30 seconds remaining in the quarter. Here's Byers taking the inside handoff and just getting back to the line of scrimmage. And that will be the final play. of the third quarter.
Well, we've reached that point where you ask an awful lot of your defensive team, and that's what the Cowboys right now are asking of their group. They need to force the Philadelphia Eagles to run just a couple more plays and punt the ball away. They cannot fall farther behind and expect to win this game.
Third quarter is over. Back we come with Monday Night Football after this word from our ABC station.
Brian.
Man on the left, Norman Brayman, owns the Eagles. Man on the right is the president and chief operating officer, Harry Gamble, who was quite instrumental in the signing of Herschel Walker.
Looks like the Reverend Norman Brayman.
Yes, he does in that shot. As we start the fourth quarter on second down from the 48 on second and 10, Pat Peach makes the catch, takes the ball to the 45-yard line where it'll be third down and 3. And Jerry Jones in the middle of the shot, the man in the suit and tie, the owner of the Cowboys, watching his team trailing by 10 as this fourth quarter commences. The Minister of Defense, Reggie White.
He makes everyone along that defensive line just a little bit better.
He and Bruce Smith just go back and forth as to who this week or this day is the most dominating defensive lineman in the game.
Third down and 3. Cunningham throws. He converts a first down. Barnett was looking to pitch it to I don't know who as he's tackled by Brown. First down.
Another good read by Randall Cunningham. He reads the single coverage, and you don't often get it from Dallas. They usually cover and hide their coverage really well. Get inside, help, or double help. He read the single coverage and got the completion.
Turnovers, the big number right there. See, the Cowboys have outgained the Eagles by over 100 yards, but the turnovers have killed them. First and 10 at the 37-yard line. Good protection. Perfect pass. First down. Barnett. They call him Arkansas Fred out of Arkansas State. He and Calvin Williams were both drafted together 2 years ago when the Eagles went into the draft saying we need receivers, and they actually went for Mike Bellamy as their first choice of the 3, and he's not with the team anymore, but the other 2 have really paid off.
But again, look at the throw by Cunningham. Barnett complaining that Washington delivered a blow to the head, which he did. But again, it was just a pinpoint pass by Randall Cunningham.
Perfect touch from the 16-yard line. Herschel. Another touchdown.
There's a flag thrown in the end zone. Well after the play. It has nothing to do with the touchdown run by Walker.
That's a great call. Cowboys thinking pass in a pass rush mode. They come at the draw. Herschel explodes into the end zone. Somebody rolled the big cannons out.
Don't know what that is, but you can feel it. Mark Bryant getting together with the side judge. Side Judge Howard Slavin has been involved in a lot of action tonight.
He's not going to rule a celebration violation, is he?
We have a personal foul on number 73, Philadelphia, after the score. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. We'll assess 15 yards on the kickoff.
Ron Heller raising some hell in the end zone.
Yeah, this happened well after Herschel Walker, behind just superior blocking, takes it into the end zone. I touched on it earlier about the improved quality of play by the Eagle offensive line, and it was aptly demonstrated right there.
Ruzek. And the Eagles have stretched it out to 24-7.
Like Eric Floyd, number 61, has a problem with one of his legs as he gingerly tries to make his way towards the Eagles bench. Well, I touched on it early. Are they the best team in the game? They're playing like it right now.
Goodyear blimp providing that rotating view from high above Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. One thing Dallas has got to be really concerned with now, they're down 24-7, and Philadelphia is not the team you want to play catch-up against. They're going to be coming on every play with the ears pinned back, playing pass all the way. Because of that penalty on Heller, the assessment on the kickoff here, thus Ruzek puts it in the air from the 20-yard line instead of the 35. And he sends that out of bounds. And so normally you take it at the 35, but because of the penalty, they can get it at the 50.
Yeah, it's a costly penalty, but it's one.
Free kick out of bounds. The ball will be put in play on the 50-yard line. 30 yards in advance of the kick by rule. First down on the 50.
All right, Jerry Markbright. Excellent explanation. You almost forgive Heller that penalty, though, in the sense that you have to pay attention to how he's played tonight against Charles Haley. Haley has really been a non-factor in this game tonight, and Ron Heller, left tackle, gets a lot of credit. He's the guy that more often than not is responsible for blocking one of the great pass rushers in the game.
And Herschel Walker has picked up a lot of his yardage right over Heller.
But talk about a costly penalty. Opening up a shop at the 50-yard line without even touching the football is just superb field position for Dallas.
First and 10, Cowboys at the 50-yard line. Smith stays in the block. Aikman throwing for Novacek. Did he have possession? No. Incomplete. Broken up by Eric Allen, having a big night.
Oh, I'll tell you, that was an absolute great play by Allen. Novacek had that football, and Allen just took it out of there. Slapped it out. They play the football collectively better than any team in the NFL, and that's why those number ones are right across there in the defensive categories. Watch Allen now. Bang, the ball is that gone.
I think Eric Allen is showing why he's made a couple trips to Honolulu for the Pro Bowl. Probably will this year as well.
Second and 10 from the 50.
Look out.
Aikman sacked. Simmons.
The basic feeding frenzy.
Well, that's $500 more to the Jerome Brown Foundation. The foundation created after the death of the great Eagle tackle, and Simmons donating that amount for every sack.
Single coverage as Tuanay tries to handle Simmons. They're double up on the other side against Reggie White.
I think he gives some of that to, there's the patch you can see on the shoulder of Reggie White, the new and improved, the larger patch they're wearing in honor and memory of their teammates.
Third and 17. And Aikman is lucky that wasn't picked by Eric Allen. Who else?
I might be trying the other side of the field.
Well, I would think I'd look over, see if I could locate Isaiah Jenkins.
Boy, and you saw Andre Waters giving it to Michael Irvin.
Yep.
Michael Irvin lives by the sword and dies by the sword. He talks a good game when it's going his way, and if that's the way you're going to play, you better expect to get it when things aren't going so well.
One big reception tonight, 2 for the night by Irvin, and in that 24-0 game last September, Irvin was also held to 1 reception. Great job by Bud Carson, the defensive coordinator here tonight.
Mike Saxon's kick. Taken by Sikahema inside the 5-yard line.
Well, you can do that when you lead 24-7, I guess.
11:39 left in the fourth. Eagles up by 17.
You got team. 2's brown, 1's gold. The Broncos beat the Redskins next week on ABC's Monday Night Football.
Well, the Hurricanes of Miami, second ranked, take on the 7th ranked Nittany Lions of Penn State at Penn State this Saturday. And then those games on the second half of our doubleheader college football this Saturday right here on ABC. Good lineup. Eagles have it from the 13. Herschel Walker with 2 touchdowns tonight. Can't get started this time. Robert Jones in on the tackles. Well, when you look ahead now for the Eagles, over the next 2 weeks, Rich Kotite takes his team to Kansas City and to Washington. But he'll take them in the way it looks right now with a 4-0 record.
And he'll also take them in with the added baggage of a lot of people looking at his club saying, here's a team that ought to be in Pasadena.
2nd and 10, and Myers to the 13. It really is, when you think about the Eagles, an amazing thing when you watched what happened last year and the way Kotite kept them together with Cunningham hurt on opening day, and then to have an offseason in which Jerome Brown dies, and then you have Keith Jackson, regarded as the best pass-catching tight end in football, signing with another team. So there are 2 guys you just don't replace.
Well, that became
now 4-0.
It became so apparent last year. I mean, he has Jim McMahon, but McMahon is hurt more than he's healthy. Jeff Kemp is carried off the field, and yet they very nearly make the playoffs. That's the quality of the personnel on his team.
3rd and 10, and the catch is made on a 3rd down reception. A flag goes down for a late hit. Williams makes the catch, and James Washington came in late.
Going back to last year, it was a remarkable thing that Rich Kotite did when he came in and replaced a very popular Buddy Ryan, at least popular with the players. And he had no problems with it. The players had none. And just on his own strength, and
they got to be talking about the fact that
he was able to keep this team together.
You're right, Frank. They got to be talking about the fact that nobody touched Williams on the field. He's free to get up and run. I mean,
still?
No, not now. In other words, you've got a player on the field that's, I didn't see anybody touch him.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness on number 37, defense. 15-yard penalty, late hit, first down.
Well, let's see if he was touched down on the field. All right, here's the catch in the middle of no traffic. Williams is done. Oh, you can see there's Larry Brown, who comes in and puts his right hand on his shoulder. By that time, though, Washington was already airborne.
And out to the 40. Speaking of Jim McMahon, I said to him before the game, how you doing? He said, I'm bored.
He had a little radio-controlled car running around the carpet out here before the game.
You know what he said to me, though? He said, I said, why are you doing it? He said, real simple. I want one more ring, and this team can give it to me.
Well, both his elbow and shoulder operated on during the offseason, or rather elbow and knee.
From the 41-yard line now, here's Walker for 3. A lot of people close to this team are giving McMahon a lot of credit for Cunningham, because they said last year Randall, forced to watch because of the injury, and he watched the way McMahon would do things methodically and in his own very unique fashion.
He did all during the rehab, during the offseason. He'd get the clips. He'd sit down with Lou Carpenter, Zeke Bratkowski, and go over the coverages, how McMahon would read them, how he should be reading them better. And Cunningham in the past has been so quick to jump out of that pocket. He's not doing that anymore. He's a much more mature quarterback.
2nd and 6 from the 45. Eagles up by 17. Myers into a tackle of Cowboys for no gain. Robert Jones leading the charge. And we have under 9 minutes to go. Jimmy Johnson next week has his team going home to face Seattle, and we move down to RFK. Always a great scene on a Monday night Redskins with a mark of 2-2 hosting the AFC West leading Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football.
We opened our season there, what, 3 years ago with Denver and Washington, remember?
Well, that was a little bit into the year. That was the night Elway got sick before the game. At the 45-yard line, Herschel Walker picks up a couple up to the 47, another create a fourth down. And Gary Kubiak had to come in off the bench and lead him to a win.
Denver, of course, on top of the AFC West. Somebody said it rather succinctly that Denver is the best worst team in the league.
Well, they're 4-1 and what, have allowed more points than they have scored. Try that on for a side. They've scored 70 and allowed 75, and yet they're 4-1.
Well, that one
loss, whoa,
right here, 30-0.
And it wasn't that close.
Jeff Eagles had to move to his right to accept the snap. It is fielded at the 9-yard line by Kelvin Martin, and he's buried at the 12. Early celebration for Mark McMillan, a rookie from Alabama. His moment in the sun, or moon, 24/7. So, Dan, what do you think? Answer that question. Eagles best team in the league right now?
I think so. I mean, I think they're the most complete team, offensively, defensively, the improvement of their special teams. And of all the things that Randall Cunningham has accomplished tonight, I'm not so sure the most important was the way he took a tremendous shot on his knee and came back into the game.
And they keep on smoking as Reggie White gets the sack back at the 5-yard line.
On the other side of the field, though, Jimmy Johnson, I said to us last night, said, we'll be there. I don't know whether we'll win the game or not. We will play well. If they are playing well, then there's no question that this Philadelphia Eagles team is the best in the league. Because this is a good football team, the Dallas Cowboys, the youngest team in the league, and they're going to get nothing but better.
The Reggie chant after that sack. Here's Emmitt Smith. Up to the 16-yard line. And a flag is down.
Reggie White
Dallas
is one of the reasons, I think, that this Eagle team has some of the urgency that they have. Because Reggie's the first to say that I am not a young man. And my years in the National Football League are limited. I can see the end of the road.
Number 63, offense. Half the distance to the goal.
And I want to get there, and I want to get there this year. And he's very upfront in saying, now is the time. Not next year, not the year after, now.
Well, it's a mature defensive unit at Philadelphia. You got the two safeties, Hopkins and Waters, each in their 9th year. Reggie moving along. They should be in their very prime right now, and they're playing like it. 2nd and 20, and this play is dead before it starts.
I think they may have had a delay of game as well. Well, either false start or delay. It had to be one or the other.
That's what Jerry said. He questioned the headlines and false start, he said.
False start. Number 66, offense. Half the distance to the goal. Prior to the snap, 2nd down.
Those are the things that really are not even recorded. They're caused by a defensive unit that gets you, I mean, they're so disruptive.
There's Gogan there on the left.
Trying to get to the outside, trying to get position.
2nd and 22 now from the 1. 6:47 to go. And we've got another false start.
Well, the good news is they can only mark it off a half a yard.
It's only about a foot, this one.
False start, number 79, offense.
Well, on this series, we
Prior
had
to the snap,
a penalty on Gesick,
half the distance to the goal, 2nd down.
a penalty on Gogan, and a penalty on Eric Williams. This is moving down the line.
All the way to your right. And you've got to give an assist to the crowd here at the vet. They came to make noise, and they are making noise. And I think it's obvious right now the Cowboys on the offensive line are having trouble hearing the snap.
You know, through the last 7 quarters, they've given up 1 touchdown. The Eagles defense against Denver and the Cowboys.
This is an ugly place to be if you're an offensive lineman.
2nd and 22. And just to give him breathing room, that's Darrell Johnston's first carry as he takes it out to the 3-yard line. Aikman's face reflecting the kind of night it's been.
Joyner putting it to Eric Williams.
You know, the Cowboys are a young team, Frank mentioning, a team that figures to get better. Maybe they'll be fresher in the second half of the season. But interestingly, this year, to this point, they've outscored the opposition 64-17 in the first half. In the second half, they've been outscored 41-24. And tonight, another case in point. Aikman's throw, and that's dropped by Novacek.
So true, Al. They had a 34-0 lead over the Giants into the third quarter, and the Giants came back and almost pulled that out, 34-28.
And Novacek making a one-handed grab for that ball. That ball was very catchable. And Jay Novacek, who missed all of training camp in a contract holdout, has not had a real strong start to his 1992 season and has dropped a couple passes tonight as well.
Very careful that he doesn't step out of the back of the end zone. That's a two-pointer if you do.
Mike Saxon, they've got both Sikahema and the rookie Jeff Seidner from Hawaii back to receive. And Sikahema returns the kick to the 34-yard line. The tackle is made by Tommy Agee. .5:34 remaining in the fourth quarter.
And I find it interesting as you see Saxon being very careful with it there, that the 6 teams that beat the Eagles a year ago, they averaged 9 completions and 110 yards, but they didn't turn it over.
What is Saxon doing?
Yeah, that was Saran Stacy giving him a Saran wrap.
It's an Academy Award.
Nice try, Mike.
Yep. First down at the 34-yard line. Herschel. You know, the one thing about Walker, a lot of people questioned his heart and his willingness to play the game in the last year and a half in Minnesota, and it really ate at him. And for Walker, who's not a real outwardly effusive guy, but a very proud man, this has to be a wonderful night. I don't think there are any more questions.
And he's handled it so well, too, as we said earlier. They weren't getting any quotes out of Herschel Walker over the past 2 weeks as they got ready for Dallas.
Walker 18 carries for 77 yards, and now they give it to Byers, and he pulls ahead at the 29-yard line.
Just before the game started today, I watched as Jimmy Johnson looked around and really searched out Herschel Walker. Walked over, put his arm around him. There's a big hug by both of them. But Walker has handled this situation so graciously, and he might have put both of these teams in the Super Bowl. Obviously not the same one, but down the line it could certainly happen.
Third and 4 at the 28-yard line. Cunningham throwing for Walker. And a first down.
There's a big-time stiff arm.
What did Rich Kotite say about him? He was stunned how strong he is.
Well, Larry Brown just found out. These two had a confrontation earlier where Brown was making the tackle on Walker. This time, he does not. Goodbye.
First and 10 at the 20.
And Rich Kotite on the sideline. Nice guys can finish first.
Walker again. Boy, isn't it? There's Washington just venting his frustration.
Boy, and it takes something to get a rise out of Herschel.
Yeah. Isn't it ironic, though, that a lot of fans were upset when the Eagles didn't make a big play for James Brooks, and Cleveland got him after Cincinnati let him go, and Brooks, of course, was let go by Cleveland and picked up by Tampa Bay, and a lot of people questioned the acquisition of Walker.
And it was all Richie Kotite and Harry Gamble. The two of them took full responsibility for it.
Yep.
And right now it appears they should take full credit.
2nd down and 2. Myers. Touchdown.
Talk so much about Walker. There's a great football player, subordinated. There we got a lot of opportunities, and now the frustration starts to come out again. Keith Myers, over the past couple of years, has had to play in a lot of situations and positions that he wasn't terribly fond of, but they call him the ultimate team player. He'll play tight end, he'll play the slot for you, he'll play running back, and a great player indeed at all positions.
Nope.
None whatsoever.
He did not want to play catch up with Philadelphia.
Bruzek. 31-7. These two teams go at it again November 1st in Irving.
Richie Kotite said, I must have improvement in 2 areas, special teams and the play of my offensive line. So far this season, he has seen dramatic improvement in both, but nowhere more so than what he's gotten out of his offensive line. Keith Byers went into the end zone without a Dallas Cowboy making a serious bid to tackle him. As a matter of fact, I don't believe he was even touched. In flag football, that would have been a touchdown.
This is the first time since 1980 the Eagles have scored 4 rushing touchdowns in a game.
There's that offensive line, and a great improvement by Antone Davis, the big first-round draft pick over right tackle from a year ago. They gave up 2 number 1s to acquire him, and he was helpless and hopeless for much of the beginning of last year. He settled down, came in, worked during the offseason, lost a little bit of weight, and has turned into certainly an excellent run-blocking tackle, and he is improving as a pass blocker.
It's a tight old jersey he's got on there.
That's the biggest they've got.
You could take the numbers off that thing and show a drive-in movie on it.
Widescreen.
Put a swing set down in front of there. You'd have something.
Short kick taken to the 15-yard line by Martin.
Didn't you love it? Didn't you love it with the dancing hot dogs and stuff telling you to go up to the concession stand?
Mark McMillan did that last tackle.
Singing pickles.
Cowboys tonight in the second half. Remember, they were down by only 3 at halftime.
The first half makes those punts look pretty good.
Yeah. The interception, the fumble, and 2 punts in a second half that's been owned by the Eagles.
A lot of Denver Broncos looking on and kind of sitting back saying, we understand.
Oh, you better believe it, Frank.
A lot of Kansas City Chiefs looking on, too, because they get both these teams over the next 2 weeks. It was a penalty on the run back, takes it back to the 11-yard line.
Philadelphia has Kansas City next week, right?
Yep. At KC, and then the Chiefs go to Dallas. You saw the smiling Walker on the Philadelphia sideline. Cowboys from the 11, 1st and 10.
Like the Eagles go Kansas City, Washington.
And this is Tommy Agee out to the 21-yard line. Well, the Eagles, among other things, took Emmitt Smith out of the game tonight, and if the Cowboys can't get a big game out of Emmitt Smith, they're not going to beat a team like Philadelphia. There's no chance.
They took the leading rusher out from a year ago, and they took the leading receiver in terms of yardage, Michael Irvin, right out of this football game.
And it's just another game in which they've taken Smith out of it.
You know, I guess it's really strange that in the same division as the defending Super Bowl champions that we are talking about Philadelphia in such glowing terms. But if you really compare the 2 teams right now, there is no comparison. The Redskins are not playing like defending well, maybe they are playing like defending Super Bowl champions. More often than not, we've seen a fade by the defending champs. But if you are just looking at the first week of October and who is on it and who's off of it, right now the Eagles are on it and the Redskins are off of it.
Well, you're looking at Emmitt Smith. You know, it's one of those goofy statistics that needs an asterisk when they tell you that a team is 20-0, which they are. When he carries the ball 18 or more times, a lot of that has to do with getting the lead and sitting on it. But tonight it's a bit relevant in the sense that he's carried it 18 times and they're getting killed. So it'll be 20-1, and it's a resounding one. And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning, close to a first down. And they'll celebrate into the night in the city of brotherly love, where they love the Eagles, and they lead by 24.
A cheesesteak in Philly.
He's just trying to gear up for a Slim Fast commercial down the line. Well, 4th and inches.
If you can't eat it, at least look at it.
Yes. Dallas going for it. And they pick up the first down, so they'll maintain possession for what it's worth in a game that is over. 31-7, the Eagles on top.
I think we're in one of those rare situations where both teams are trying to run the clock out.
Well, we talked about the irony tonight and Herschel Walker and his move from Dallas through Minnesota here. And Rich Kotite and what a game like tonight means to the Eagles. And I think back to Rich Kotite taking over for Buddy Ryan when Ryan gets fired as Aikman on first down retreats and hits Irvin. He's out of bounds at the 48. When Ryan got fired, Richie was on Buddy's staff, and Kotite had left New York when Joe Walton was fired the year before. He gets the call to go upstairs, as they say, and he thinks he's going to get fired along with Ryan. And instead, they offer him the job.
Yeah, he actually is told to hang around. Would you like to interview?
Yep.
And lo and behold, before he knew it, he was the new guy. And as it turned out, or as it's turning out, appears to be the perfect choice. He has been a real calming influence in what was a very turbulent situation here in Philadelphia.
After Rich Kotite, it worked out well that Bud Carson was relieved of his duties at Cleveland.
Another sack.
Yep. Kind of a typical way for an Eagle game to end as Reggie White comes in, and that's 4 sacks tonight for Philadelphia.
It's called fatting up the Pro Bowl numbers.
Reggie White would go to the Pro Bowl if he brushed the quarterback on his hands and knees. That's pretty strong when you just yank a guy down between the thumb and forefinger.
Through his career, he's averaged about a sack a game as Alfredo Roberts makes the catch here.
I'd like to get pinched by Reggie White. He hauled down Troy Aikman with his thumb and a forefinger.
More importantly, he just throws that double coverage all the time. The rest of that defensive line gets single blocking against them.
Tommy Agee with a catch.
Saw that graphic, 4 sacks, 4 turnovers.
Well, we stated at the very beginning tonight, not a question of if for the Cowboys. They're going to get to the top. The question is when, and the answer is not yet.
Not tonight, at least. And the Eagles, I think, leave the vet this evening crowned the early October Super Bowl favorites. Tune in next month. Or next week, for that matter.
Yep. Irvin Panthers. That's and the Eagles do it on a night when, you know, Randall, for Randall Cunningham, a very average night. In fact, below average for him.
Big story again, the turnovers. As always with the Eagles.
Randall with, well, you know, attempts into, you divide yards by attempts, and it's only about 6 yards per attempt. We mentioned it from time to time. 7's about average. 8 is very good. 9's excellent.
He had a big cushion coming in. The quarterback rating over 140.
Intended for Roberts. Broken up by Otis Smith.
This is where the Cowboy offensive linemen go, oh goody, 2 seconds left in the game. I get to pass block Reggie White and Clyde Simmons one more time. How lucky can a guy get? Oh, they're going to try a field goal.
Well, maybe they just find out how far the rookie can kick it. He had 52 yards as a collegian.
48-yard attempt. Ooh. There might be a few people pretty interested in this kick, and you know what I mean. It's wide.
It was wide and under.
It was certainly, it was right on, I think. It was, I believe the O&U was 38 tonight.
It's go time. What a great job he has done. And Jimmy Johnson, you've built yourself one for the future. And we'll be seeing a lot of that young man, Troy Aikman.
That was a push to the right, you might say.
You guys.
Now, of what do you speak?
Give us some good music to go off with.
Well, big night for the Eagles. They win it 31-7, undisputed possession of first. Talk to you next week from Washington. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deirdre. Good night from Philadelphia.